Hey, Omega.
Yes, Gunner.
Wait, what? No, it's Yankum.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it is. Hey, what has two thumbs and is glad that Gunner's not here tonight?
Coco, the chimp that can do sign language.
No, guess again.
The corpses of our distraught listeners.
No, it's this guy, because we're joined by Alice Radley tonight. But before that, let's do the theme song. Oh, yeah. And since Gunner's gone, you know what I thought we'd do? I thought we would just throw out the format and do something completely just off-the-wall weird and start with the news. So,
we usually start with the introductions.
Yes, don't we?
So, this first thing, Darren Young came out as gay this week after TMZ caught up with him at a baggage claim and asked him if a gay superstar could flourish in WWE. Several of his peers have tweeted their support, including Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Young has done several interviews since, including The Today Show, and cites a 2-year relationship with his boyfriend Nick as a deciding factor to come out. I say good for him.
Yeah, a pretty understated, not that Darren Young is a superstar athlete or anything, but a pretty understated coming out, I don't think it could have gone any better in terms of, not making a ton of waves.
Still, that's something important, and I wish, something important like that would have a little bit more oomph than to just be delivered in an airport baggage claim, but I just hope, even though we're all fans of pro wrestling, we all know that some of the history has some of the more body-conscious, some of the more super hetero, in the past, mean guys. So I just hope that there's none of that in today's WWE and that Darren can flourish. The only weird thing about this is I found out his real name was Fred Ruccolo or something like that, and I was like, oh?
Wait, I don't understand your... Who cares if he was just like, yeah, I made a baggage claim? Like, do you really need a full-blown press conference to tell people that you like to poke other guys in the butt? Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, no, it's not the sexuality as per se. It's just that it's like, I don't know exactly where I'm going, but it's something important, and it's something important about yourself, which you're telling other people. So maybe the airport baggage claim just isn't the best place to do it. Is what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yeah, we're still not a society that's completely accepting of this kind of thing. So when we have an openly gay wrestler in the WWE, it could be a bigger deal in terms of, reaching toward that acceptance. But there's also the flip side, which is, if when we get to the point where it is accepted, it'll be pretty much just that. Someone will reveal it, and people will, congratulate them for being true to themselves, and then that'll be it. So, there's kind of the two sides of the coin there.
Alright, we got a little bit of air going there. Let's keep it moving. In a surprising move, TNA released Brooke Hogan this week. Reportedly an amicable split with Hulk's blessing. The feeling is that her role has run its course and the door's open for a return if it makes sense. Taryn Terrell, once booked to win the Knockouts title at Bound for Glory, will be out indefinitely due to a pregnancy. Eric Bischoff is currently in charge of creative with Matt Conway and Dave Lagana as writers. And Hulk Hogan will appear in the 2K14 game as part of a deal with 2K, not with WWE, and has given his blessing for a treatment of a biopic based on his life to be made, for which he claims his son Nick would be perfect to play him. Dear God in heaven.
Biopic? You mean myopic? Nick Hogan as Hulk Hogan? Oy vey.
Only if Hulk never did all those steroids in the 80s.
Yeah, you really can't turn back time that much.
So, we have Brooke Hogan. That's probably a money thing. And it makes sense because Brooke, I don't know how much Brooke was getting paid, but it was probably too much. There's the rumor that Hulk gets paid $35,000 an appearance, which I don't know if that's true or not, but that seems like way too much. So, Bischoff in charge of creative.
Yes, that's what we need to get into.
Yeah, that's not the greatest news. The show hasn't been awful. TNA's always kind of been the good product that's run poorly. And I haven't seen any super big, noticeable gaps in quality in recent weeks compared to, how it usually is. But, it's kind of disheartening when you have somebody like that in charge who has proven themselves to be not that capable in that role.
Yep, Eric Bischoff. Always a double-edged sword, because you know that controversy creates cash, but if real writing can bring in the numbers for things like... I hear war drums over the horizon, mighty chief.
I'm going to try this one more time. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Now we can hear you.
Jesus Christ, I wasn't sure what was wrong. All right, we are back. Can I comment on the first news story? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Go right ahead.
Here's the deal. Number one, I think it's a great way to come out, because it's sort of just a casual, yeah, I like Dick, so what? It shouldn't be a big deal, and he did it in a way that was really, really casual. That's number one. Number two about this story is the WWE Universe reaction was awesome. Awesome. And not what I expected. Everybody on Twitter was super positive, super okay with it. Everyone was like, if they weren't in like loud, crazy support, at least like, whatever, no big deal. When he was on Raw, you saw the people in the crowd certainly doing the little millions of dollars dance. Felt like there was definite support. So I'm pleased. Just wanted to throw in on that one.
Okay, anything on Bischoff running TNA as head booker right now?
No, don't care. I'm so sorry. I still believe that TNA is a shared delusion and it's not a real wrestling promotion.
Oh!
Well, that may be the case. I would actually wager a prediction that TNA might, the way things are going, and everybody says this every year, but the way things are going by the end of next, because not just the money problems, but I think Hogan might actually leave TNA within the next year, because I'm sure he's eyeing that WWE contract again, and he doesn't really have any real loyalty to TNA, so... Anyway, moving on. As you probably saw on WWE.com, Sheamus suffered a torn labrum at Money in the Bank and went in for surgery last week, taking him out of action for 4 to 6 months. The same to be said of John Cena, who, after elbow surgery, is expected to be out for that time. For real this time, because instead of just plowing through the injury, he's expected to actually do it proper this time and rest up. Sin Cara suffered a dislocated ring finger in his cancelled match with Alberto Del Rio on Raw, earning him some heat for actually quitting the match immediately, rather than trying to bust out the finish. Supposedly, Rob Van Dam is scheduled for a hiatus per the terms of his contract, but that might be on hold, given that Ricardo Rodriguez joined up with him last night. Brock Lesnar has one more pay-per-view match on his current deal, so he probably won't appear again until WrestleMania. There are no actual plans for Jake Roberts to appear in the Royal Rumble, as he's been proclaiming, but a last-minute deal could happen, provided Roberts is still in good straits. And the SmackDown TV contract with Sci-Fi ends next month, which is why WWE is making a push to put the show on par with Raw, touting its viewership, and maybe even bringing it to 3 hours.
Go ahead, Alice.
Dear God, no. Just, we don't need 3 hours of SmackDown. I just, dear God, no. 3 hours of Raw is hard enough, although, frankly, I don't want to bitch too much about that. For most weeks, it's not so bad, but it does lead to a lot of talking segments from people that can't talk. In terms of Rob Van Dam, do you suppose they gave him that 90-day hiatus thing so he could go get high? I mean
this is RVD, so you wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah. But definitely not. And what was the other bit? Jake Roberts, I think we talked about this one of the last times I was on this show. I just can't even begin to imagine seeing him at the Rumble. I know a lot of people want that, but I cannot figure out why, other than for nostalgia only, because you wouldn't really be seeing good quality work. We're talking about an old man.
Well, that really is the point of a Rumble spot in the first place for a lot of these guys.
All I can say is what would make SmackDown appointment television for me is if they did it live, the same as they do for Raw. SmackDown for 3 hours? No, you're right, not a good idea. And as far as, refresh my memory again, when's the Rumble?
End of January.
End of January. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, as Cena was giving his little goodbye speech last night on Raw, are we going to see another 30th surprise Cena entrance in the Rumble?
Oh, Lord, I hope
That would
not.
certainly work for me. That'd be an okay way to come back. Where's the Rumble at this year? Does anybody know?
I'm not sure they announced it yet.
I'd be comfortable with that, and it'll be really nice for him to have time off, and I definitely agree vis-a-vis the SmackDown being live thing, because remember there are those rare occasions when they do make it live, and it's so much better. There's something sort of sympathetic magic that happens when you know a program is live that just makes it better. That definitely works for Raw. I know recently when they were in Australia, of course, they had the recorded Raw. Not the same. It lacks that spark.
Correction. Apparently the 2014 Rumble will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely town. I actually lived there at one point in time. Yay, Pittsburgh. Yay? Yeah. We'll go with yay.
Isn't that Kurt Angle's neck of the woods?
Yeah, he's from Mount Lebanon, which is a neighborhood in Pennsylvania, or Pittsburgh, rather. I lived in Castle Shannon, which is the neighborhood just next door to that. I used to see his high school, which I always called the house that Angle built every time we drove past it. That cracked me up.
Speaking of cracking up,
Oh,
how
yes.
about this? At the over the SummerSlam weekend, they had a WWE 2K14 30 Years of WrestleMania panel featuring Mick Foley, Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler were there, and Ric Flair, of course, who appeared to be intoxicated, taking most of the mic time telling various wrestling stories and ranting about TNA and things like getting a prenuptial agreement. Apparently, Stephanie McMahon personally apologized to 2K for the incident, even though they were said to be pretty unbothered by it. However, Flair's the new deal that Flair was working on, perhaps for PR reasons, might be in jeopardy now. And apparently, he was supposed to appear at SummerSlam itself in a surprise cameo, but they cut that. So, and by the way, panel leader Jim Ross also appeared to be kind of loosey-goosey during the panel, but he commented on Twitter that he was not drunk, but he was fatigued, and given that he has Bell's palsy, that can cause slurring and other such things.
I actually have Bell's palsy myself, and that can happen. Fortunately, I've never had an episode where I've needed to do a podcast. Thank you. But it can happen. I do not drink at all, any alcohol, and if I was perceived in such a way, boy, it would be a bummer. I saw JR at the Hollywood Improv on Melrose when Mick Foley was here for SummerSlam last year, and he was having that problem that night, and I don't believe he was drinking. But he was cursing, and it was hilarious. In terms of Ric Flair, isn't this what we expect from Ric Flair? I don't mean to shit on the guy, I do. But this is kind of what he does, doesn't he? He's just an old, embarrassing man who gets drunk and, I don't know, humiliates people, probably embarrasses the hell out of his children, and then just sort of makes you facepalm a lot. That seems like it's his job now.
It seems like he's that weird relation that you hope that shows up to parties because he's fun, yet he doesn't drink too much because then he'll, spill the punch bowl all over himself or some crap like that. But let me just tell our listeners that if you haven't seen the video yet, to my knowledge, it is posted on Kotaku, and it might be linked somewhere else on Gawker Media. You need to see this video. Flair starts talking at around the 40-minute mark when he comes on stage and everybody else has been talking for a while, and the magic starts happening almost immediately. It is fun. Watch the video.
Yeah, I don't know if Ross was drunk, but he certainly seemed to give up at a certain point, throwing the papers in the air, and at one point calling Paul Heyman the jovial Jew. So,
I'm sorry. Wow, awesome. Yay, JR, you closet anti-Semite. Wow. Ric Flair is an interesting guy because he's, I think, a really good example to younger wrestlers that you need to find some other shit to do after you leave wrestling. Because if you don't, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to become a walking joke. And you're going to be constant... Sorry, and he's going to be also constantly living in character. He doesn't know how to be himself anymore. I mean, he's like Peter Sellers, but not as entertaining.
Well, he's also... a lesson for younger wrestlers to learn about not spending your money on extravagant things that you don't need, and B, getting married 15 times, never having a prenuptial, and owing more in back alimony pay than you could possibly make for the rest of your life.
And maybe wear a condom. Seriously. David Flair? Just saying.
Reed's okay, though.
Well, he's dead. just saying.
That was joke. Okay, so that was completely inappropriate. So let's move to the next bit before this gets worse.
Something that's very appropriate.
I would take issue with that, but keep going.
According to Dave Meltzer, even though Total Divas is largely scripted, everyone he's talked to, including some involved in its production, passionately hates the show and find Ava Marie to be abhorrent, perhaps second only to Cameron, who has a long-standing reputation as an idiot. Apparently, Ava was not told that her meeting with Stephanie was for the show, and her nervousness was genuine while Steph was in character. Some were joking that it's impossible to get a meeting with her unless it's for reality TV, where it was portrayed like no problem. Meanwhile, E! announced additional episodes of the show, and WWE continued to film footage during SummerSlam weekend, likely for a second season. Dear God, can this just be over?
No, Vince likes torturing us.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, the show is a marked success. The ratings have just gotten stronger since the first episode. Even the ratings for the episode that aired during SummerSlam were better than the premiere episode's ratings.
Do you think that's just because people like watching the train wreck? Because, I watched the first one, and it was horrible. To the point where I said, I promised my listeners on my show, I said, I'll watch one episode and I'll talk about it, but I'm not watching anymore. And watching one was hard.
I couldn't get past the first commercial break of the first episode.
Terrible. I hate to make this a gendered thing, but I'm going to make this a gendered thing. I think these women make women look bad. I think reality television in general makes women look horrible. It certainly makes the divas, who are already really diminished, even worse. They're just about hair and makeup, and I'm a blonde, and you have red hair, and you look like Oh, God, I just can't.
As you know, I do not watch the show, but I have heard what happens on the show, and I believe in the second episode, things like Eva Marie, her boyfriend of 2 months shows up, and then proposes to her, and then Eva takes the ring, but then she takes it off because she's trying to get, on Fandango's good side to be his, permanent dancer, and of course she lies that she can dance, but she can't, and it really does. It's specifically crafted to make them look awful, for the purposes of causing drama, obviously, but it really exemplifies a certain vapid, awful. The reality of this show is that Eva Marie, despite having no talent, is on a national television show, is in the WWE, and, gets paid to do all those things, so, there's your reality.
And the bummer of it is that there are plenty of women who are just as attractive as she is, who can actually open their mouth and form words.
Even more so. That's what I never got. If you're hiring girls just based on their looks, why not go after, the top, the tens,
Well, you would think that would be what WWE would want to do, given that they sort of tend to pride themselves on having the very best. We have the best wrestlers, we have the best this, the best production. Why not get the best ladies? They really just seem to take a look at these chicks naked, I assume, and say, all right, that'll work, or, I don't know if
yeah, she's whack material.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we could be here for another 10 minutes saying, how in the hell could you not pick a good wrestler from the independent circuit and put her on television?
Exactly. Maybe pick one of those and maybe give her a little bit of a makeover, freshen her up for WWE, because some of the indie gals do look pretty rough. They are not ready for prime time, as it were, but they can certainly be cleaned up and have their hair tidied and all that stuff. Anyway, and you know what? It's terrible. We shouldn't even talk about it. It's just not worth speaking about.
Then let's don't.
Alberto Del Rio and Drew McIntyre got into some kind of brawl with each other at an Irish pub before SummerSlam, explaining Del Rio's bruised face on the pay-per-view broadcast. Fans at Access got upset with Larry King, like a skeleton, for jumping the line with his sons to meet the Shield, chanting "Injustice" at them. Reddit user Dolphins1925 stated that the WWE personnel created multiple scripts for the show, including the main event, to try and prevent him from revealing the results yet again. He noted that he has a new Twitter, @DolphinsReddit, and did manage to successfully spoil 3 matches throughout the night, including Punk versus Lesnar.
Well, I don't keep up with Mr. Dolphins, but he's gathered quite the following, hasn't he?
Well, he's obviously legitimate. They've said before that, if somebody wanted to really leak results, it's not that difficult. It's not like they keep them under lock and key. Probably 100 people know them on the day of the pay-per-view, not including the people in the matches themselves. And but it does kind of put a damper a little bit on the show, if in terms of spoilers, and just the fact that it almost creates a situation where if they do have to do multiple scripts, then it's possible they'll go with a weaker one, just so the obvious stronger one doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
What this has brought to light for me that I found the most interesting is the fact that people bet on wrestling matches. Because apparently there are bookies in the United Kingdom that will no longer take bets because this guy or gal exists.
Yeah. And that's a relatively new thing. They used to only do it for WrestleMania. Now it seems to happen for every show.
Really something else. What else was in that segment? Oh, yeah, cutting line. Anybody care about Larry King and his kids cutting line? That's what rich, famous people do.
Larry King is still alive?
More or less. Professor Farnsworth is still alive.
Produce children, I think, is the real shocker there.
Men can pretty much do that until the day they die.
Good news, everyone!
And even after they die, if they've donated their sperm.
He should be in Florida by now, and we should never have to hear from him again.
So, what do you think happened between Drew Mack and ADR? Did they really get into some sort of fight, you think?
The last thing I heard was that Del Rio was with a girl, and somebody talked to the girl. Or no, McIntyre was with a girl. Somebody talked to the girl. Del Rio kind of, got in the guy's face. Del Rio got hit with a bottle, and then that caused kind of the brawl. It wasn't that Del Rio and McIntyre fought each other. It was that they got in a fight with some other guys at a bar.
Oh, okay.
Women. Isn't that always the way?
No comment!
All right,
Speaking of women, Rebby Sky
We
responded
know
on...
Drew Mack and his reputation with fights and women. So.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, that, and I've heard some nasty things about him and rats. Won't even get started about that. Rebby Sky responded on Twitter after Amazing Kong put her name in the hoe bag during a U-shoot, saying she didn't mind drug addicts name-dropping her in shoots they do for a few $100. Necro Butcher suffered a compound fracture in his right leg last night after the JCW Bloody Mania, really? Bloody Mania 7?
Yep.
Dear. Show in Cave in Rock, Illinois. Butcher took a bump off the apron through a chair. His bone was sticking out of his leg. No!
I gotta see this
compound
video.
fracture is.
Fucking hell. Kendra Lust, the adult star rumored to have had an affair with John Cena, is the star of a new pornographic video where she has sex with a John Cena lookalike. Ooh, I wonder if it was the same John Cena lookalike who was in China's Battle Royal porn.
Oh, hell no!
Oh, Jesus.
I'm perfectly okay with Amazing Kong putting Rebby Sky's name in the hoe bag. We're talking about a lady who posed for Playboy. Not that necessarily makes you a slut, but she sleeps with Matt Hardy. She sleeps with Matt Hardy.
Yeah, that's not the most glowing endorsement I've ever heard in my life.
To be fair, by sleeping with Matt Hardy, she does get an unlimited supply of grapes.
And possibly access to meth, if you're into that kind of thing. Some of us are. I'm not.
Grapes, is that street talk for PCP?
I can't remember what the deal... What is the deal with Matt Hardy and grapes? But we probably don't have the time. Somebody tell me later. I don't follow him, and I have no idea what it's about. But
you'll have to look for the video. It's on their Hardy brand YouTube channel.
Yeah, but I'd actually have to do that, so...
Yeah, well, he just stands in the ring that they have in the barn in their backyard and eats grapes and cuts a weird promo that doesn't actually mean anything. And just
well, isn't he Artie?
Well, either that or he was high, one or the other.
Let's just say when it comes to Matt Hardy, or even Jeff Hardy, but Matt Hardy specifically, I am Team Paul London all the way. Those who know will know.
I tell you what, if I if I was going to star in a video with Miss Kendra Lust, I think my name would be Vince Scruso.
Oh, Lordy. Okay, now I think we should move on.
Linda Hogan has changed her plea in regards to the DUI she was charged with in California last year. At the time she was pulled over, her blood alcohol level was .084, which is over the legal limit of .08. This was part of a plea deal, and she was sentenced to 3 years probation and agreed to undergo 3 months of alcohol education classes, which she has already started. That's literally my comment on this.
Don't know what to say about Linda. We all have off days. I'm willing to give her a pass on this one as long as she completes her alcohol education classes.
What do you suppose happens in those classes? This is vodka. This is gin.
Yeah, pretty much. The difference between, 1 beer is equal to 1 shot is equal to 5 ounces of wine or something like that.
And they probably get a reformed booze hound in to tell you how badly their life crashed before they got their shit together. Just sort of some scared straight stuff.
We took a lot of those type of classes when I was in a fraternity in college. Risk management type classes. Yeah, they give you those special goggles that simulate what it's like to be drunk, or is supposed to. It's not really that.
You mean those glasses that make women attractive? I've heard of these. Beer goggles.
Yeah, those shades that Kanye West wears.
Good Lord. Yeah, you really would have to.
Because that would explain a lot.
Yeah, leave it to Kanye to have the bad taste to wear some of those things in public.
Secretly, I think he has mirrors embedded in them, so he can keep looking at himself the whole time.
He does seem like a fan of himself, doesn't he?
Well, I was just going to say, if those have the beer goggle bad decision effect, it would totally explain the Kardashian thing.
There you go!
Okay, how about this one? How about Eric Getzoff?
Stop!
Let's go back. But Kanye and Kardashians made for each other. That's not him stooping. That's him right at his level. Just want to say.
Well, we've only got 12 minutes left in the segment, so let's just cut it short, and we'll come back and we'll do the 15-minute time limit. So we will be right back.